Hi everyone, it's your favorite YouTube sensation, Madeline Worcester here. Since I'm no longer at a Catholic high school and thus have no reason to go way overboard on those sweet religion class video projects, it's been a minute since I've uploaded content onto my channel. I've made some epic cameos on my sister Christina's channel, but since I don't do Cedar Point and I don't do covers of songs, my exposure is mostly limited in that sense. But don't worry, today I've got something that's completely and totally relevant to your lives, an analysis of a children's book series filmed via Zoom. That's why the quality is terrible. So last night, I remember that Tyler Oakley exists, as my generation does, every few years or so. I watched a couple of his more recent videos, including a segment where he ranked LGBT coded characters on a fightability scale, so to speak. On the x-axis, if you will. Listen, this brain used to be in math and science competitions, so I will use the right terms. Tyler ranked his ability to beat the characters in a fight. On the y-axis, he commented how much he wanted to fight them. And so I thought this was hilarious. And I asked myself, what characters can I do this with? Now, my sister commented today that I should do this with literary characters, which would also probably be hilarious because there's a lot of them that are skinny white men that I would absolutely be able to take down. However, it hit me the exact perfect franchise that I should be critiquing. My favorite Mary Sue Owl Squad and their various spin-off runs, otherwise known as the Guardians of Ghoul series. If you didn't know, I read all 16 core books this year for the very first time. To clarify, I am 21 years old, and this is a middle grades to young adult read. It's rated middle grades. I think it should be a little bit higher, but that's a whole different matter. I had very strong thoughts on the series, and I reviewed many of the books in great detail on Goodreads. I'm a little too proud of the fact that my River of Wind review shows up first when ranked by relevance. But at any rate, in a blurb inspiration and coffee, I picked 16 characters, one for every book, to sort out by their respective fightability, meaning how much I want to fight them and whether or not I think I could take them. Bear in mind that I'm 5 foot tall and don't have the best upper body strength. You might also argue that, since humans are dead in this series, why would I be fighting owls or other miscellaneous beings in the first place? Well, I know that I'm the last person to usually say this, but suspend your belief for just a second and let's dive into the debate. Really quick before I do begin, I want to emphasize that these are indeed characters in children's literature. I greatly admire Lasky for busting out 16 books, plus actually, if you count the spinoffs, even if I do have issues with some later ones. I also want to say that the bulk of this, after sort of my intro here, is unscripted and done through Microsoft Paint. So please keep your expectations very low. All right. So in the classic Zoom era dialect, I'm going to be sharing my screen and going to the world, not of Zoom, but of Microsoft Paint. Wow, do I wish that this was done with literally any other program so I could edit this part out. But I'm too lazy to do that. So we're just going to get right into it with our first character and the sort of major protagonist running through the course of the whole 16 books, really, with the exception of the prequel, even though he's mentioned, and then the 3 towards the middle where they cover the legends. And that is Soren himself. Now, despite the fact that I think that Soren is the ultimate Mary Sue, Gary Sue, whatever you want to frame it as in this universe, we don't discriminate. I do think that Soren is at the very least a decent owl. If I end up saying person, you have to understand that that's just sort of the nature of the thing, because by the end, this was truly Animal Farm and they have a full-on printing press. Again, different matter entirely. I have considered making a full synopsis and analysis sort of review of the entire 16-book series. At any rate, the question remains, do I want to fight Soren? And I have to say, just a little bit, I think I do. It's definitely not a strong inclination to want to fight him, but thinking of the last book in particular of the 15, so not the prequel, he just completely ignores Corin's death. We have no care in the world. And so I really do think I would want to fight him, but not like in a way that I probably will want to fight some of these other characters. It's also worth mentioning that I wanted to put an emphasis on the owls. So all of these are owls with 2 exceptions, which are pretty obvious if you can see the list over here on my screen. At any rate, so would I want to fight Soren? Yes, I would. Would he beat me? I think he would, but I don't think it would be an overwhelming victory, because Soren has his limits. He's not the ultimate fighter. And I know I just called him a Mary Sue, but like the thing about this series is that they're decent fighters, but a lot more of what we see as readers is the planning behind it and the strategy. So if he didn't have time to fight, I think I would probably beat him being a human and him being an owl. So I'm going to say I definitely want to fight him, but he would win by a little bit. So we're just going to put him like right in that corner there. Also, my laptop is balanced on a book so that, the scenery is a little bit more pleasant and it's just not my face like staring absolutely directly into your soul. So if it's a little shaky, that's the explanation for that. Next is Gylfi. Now, I am pretty much Gylfi. I'm very small and a nerd, and so I really resonated with Gylfi. We had sort of that connection going on throughout this series, so I definitely don't want to fight her. However, I think we would probably be pretty evenly matched in a fight because we are so similar. So I definitely don't want to fight, but if it came down to it, I think we would have a very even match. Next, we have Twilight. Now, I can say without a shadow of a doubt that I would 100% want to fight this man. Like, Twilight is truly somebody who annoyed me at multiple points in this series. The only redeeming points I would say are definitely when he's like comforting his friends. Otherwise, he tends to get annoying, and I did not like the twist at all where they just inserted brothers into his life for no reason. Technically, there was a reason. It was just as a plot device, and he should have been kept with his orphan school of thought. That is my opinion. However, I would definitely want to fight him. But the thing is I'm almost done with an English degree. And this owl is an owl whose entire lexicon is based on fragments of human sort of dictionaries and pieces of literature throughout time. So how does he know that if he's been an orphan? I don't know. That's not important here. I suppose the owls could have built up their little dialect situation over time. However, there are different languages of like different owl languages canonically in this universe. Twilight's whole big thing is that he does these taunts. If I can't understand him, it's not going to do anything. So I definitely would take Twilight down, but I definitely also want to fight him. So he's going to go right up here. Next up, we have Digger. Now, Digger's kind of an interesting one because in the first book alone, I definitely thought he was like entirely useless. Like he and Twilight both were just there so that Lasky could have this band that would form to be in the other books. Like, what was his purpose? What was the reason? Why couldn't we have met him later? I don't know, because that would be hard, I guess. So I didn't particularly like Digger at first, but he does end up serving as sort of a voice of reason. But I just feel like Digger, he has such a hard time flying. Like, I would beat him in a fight, but I'd feel a little bit bad about it because he is an intellectual, like a little bit. He would definitely be wisdom high based character, or a high wisdom based character. Clearly my wisdom is not very highly based in the D&D universe, of which I definitely also frequent now. So I would definitely, I think, also beat Digger in a fight. I just feel kind of bad about it, but I do still want to fight him, just not as much as Twilight. I feel like I'm giving an embarrassing presentation in front of my class. I wish I could give this presentation in front of a class. If any of my English professors are watching, I will gladly present on the Guardians of Cool at Urca next year. Just reach out to me. So yeah, I would definitely win, but I don't really want to fight him, but I do a little bit. Yeah. Otalissa. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but that's how they pronounce it in the audiobook, which I mostly listened to audio versions of these books. So that's what we're gonna go with. Otalissa is very annoying, but she's very good at what she does. This author, Catherine Lasky, over and over again, she uses the phrase, for the first time, Otalissa was silent. This was genuinely one of my my biggest complaints of the series, is that one phrase gets used like at least twice in every book she's in. If it's happening in every book, it's obviously not the first time, and she's obviously not talking all the time. However, all of that being said, I mean, she's like, do I want to fight her? I don't think I do. Like, she's a little annoying, but she's right though. That's the reason. Like, she's pretty consistently correct. So you can still be annoying and correct. And I don't want to eliminate any voice of reason or any brain cell from the series because they can't afford to lose it. So I don't really want to fight her, but I think I would win. I think I would have a better chance against her than Gylfi per se. I think I would win, and I don't really want to fight. Yeah. So next up, we have Corin. This is another one where I'm definitely on the side of, like, there's no hesitation. I want to fight him. He was not a good king. Like, I'm sorry he's dead, but we all knew Soren was going to end up the king in the end. It just made sense. So, like, I definitely want to fight him. Would I end up with a dub? That's a better question. I do think that he would probably win because he has had a lot more training, and as Naira's like son, I think he could pull it off, but I think he would die in the end going up against me, just like he did in the actual books. So like, he'd probably stop, but if we were to engage in a fight, I think he would probably win. I think he and Soren have about equal chances of winning against me. No, maybe a little bit less, but I definitely want to fight Corin more. Soren is a much more likable protagonist, in my opinion, despite the fact that he's perfect at everything. Because they're all perfect at everything. So we have to kind of treat that as a pre-existing factor. Next, we have Ezorib. And I absolutely do not want to fight this man. Ezorib was one of the best, if not the best characters in the series. As I mentioned in my review, props to Lasky for giving the crackish owls swear words. Ezorib deserved that after everything he went through. Ezorib, of course, also leaves of Keel, so there's that little discrepancy in case you were curious. So I definitely don't want to fight him, but he would clobber me. Like, I would be dead in 5 seconds. I really would. So he would win, but he is my favorite character pretty much in this series. So he would kill me though. I would not survive it. Next we have Hool. Hool was just like super bland in my opinion. My least favorite books of the series collectively were the middle 3 that were about the legends, which I guess is kind of unfortunate that this is the material the owls had to go off of when they were younger. But then again, I guess this is the material we have to go off of when we're younger and not 21 and critiquing children's literature. So I can't really talk. Cool. I would fight him. I really would. The thing is I think I would win. And the reason for that is he could try and go in his little volcano as a hideout or whatever they pulled. But we have so much modern technology that if humans were still around, I would simply follow him or send somebody in after him. You could also make the case with that he could just send wolves after me or polar bears or other owls. So if we're ignoring even like other parties, so just me versus Hool, I would win. And I do want to fight him. I really do, because that part of the series was just not it at all. So I would win for sure, but this seems to be a little bit more polarizing than Tyler Oakley's, I have to confess. We're going to put it just above there. Perfect. So I also included the ember itself here because without this ember, I feel like half of the books just would straight up not even be a thing. One of them is literally called The War of the Ember. It ruined the tree. It was the reason for that really kind of lame. That's rude of me. I actually liked all of these books. Like, you have to understand, I'm just an English major and this is my job. But comparatively lame middle segment of books, I would definitely want to fight this ember. Like, I'm sure it's very pretty. And as an ex-member of the Rocks and Minerals sort of situation in Science Olympiad, like, I'm very inclined towards like earthy things. So I want to fight it less than Corin. Like, I truly don't have as strong of a feeling, or as Twilight, I would say. But would it win? I don't know. I'm not an owl, so I don't know what kind of impact that would have on me. I don't think, no, because it definitely mentions in the series that the humans died because of wars. So it wasn't because of the ember. I don't know if the ember would have any impact on me other than burning myself. So I think it would depend on, again, similar to Hool, what kind of technology is available at the time. Because if it's just sitting there, I could just like throw something at it to obliterate it. It's not moving. I would definitely win. What's it gonna do? Roll after me? I would 100% win, but I really I'm gonna make it a little bit smaller because I don't want to fight it as much as. Yeah, I definitely win. I'm gonna say here. We're gonna, okay, I made it go away. I'm gonna put it here and then just make it smaller. Oh, wow, that's unreadable. But you get the idea. This is the high quality content you signed up for. Anywho, we're up to Clud. Now, there's no question that if I went up against Metalbeak, I would 100% die. Like, in comparison to the generation before them, the new band of owls is practically incompetent. Clud, I mean, he's only, well, I guess I can't even really say new generation because Clud's only a year older than Thorin or so, something along those lines. But I would also 100% want to fight him. So he's kind of the opposite of Ezelbrib. Okay. Actually, here's the thing, is I would want to fight him because he is like truly a villain. But the absolute corner of want to fight, but they would 100% win in a fight is Naira. Like, there's no question about it. The woman does not stop. She should have been dead or at least gone like 8 books earlier in this series, which is also, in my opinion, a good stopping point for this series. But that's a different topic. I'm gonna have to make a different video because I've told like everything is a different topic. But Naira and Clud both are true villains. Like, they really think they're doing something, but they're actually like incredibly evil. So I would want to fight them, but they would kill me. I would be dead with anybody on this column. Next, we have the Striger. This character as a whole really annoyed me. I'm gonna be honest. And the whole blue owl thing, oh my gosh. It should not exist. It just should not. Or after one book, if Lasky got rid of it, I could forget of it. But it never went away until the prequel. And that was such a relief. And probably why, at least a little bit, I liked the prequel better than most of the latter half of the series. Also, it was about Ezelrib and Lil, who is coming up on the list. So don't worry. She also has a very special place in my heart. So the Striger, I think I would win, but it wouldn't be a total blowout. But I do definitely want to fight him because he just is not, he's not as good of a fighter, I don't think, as he is a strategist. And even his strategy is a little bit weak, as you can see. He definitely seems to fall to leaders. Even though he attempted his whole cult thing, it collapsed like pretty quickly. So it's very clear to me that he's just not as good at pretty much anything as he thinks he is. So he's got a nice place right there. We only got 4 more on this list. Next up, we have Mist or Hortense. And I definitely don't want to fight Hortense. Are you kidding me? Hortense is an angel. And did so much for the original band. And just honestly iconic. I'm gonna start sounding like one of the boss babes. It's so iconic, life-changing. You get the gist. Can you tell I've been watching a lot of videos on multi-level marketing schemes? It's kind of my new thing. Anyway, I definitely don't want to fight Mist, but I think if we did engage in a fight, Hortense would take me down, but not as heavily as Ezzelrip would. I don't think anybody can come to his level. So I definitely like Hortense is on like I would strongly not want to fight, but I think that there would be a chance of her winning. Next up is Rabbit. You know, there's a reason I kept Rabbit on this list, and this Lil Man is one of the most infuriating characters in the series. Like, you have a whole fortune teller, and you did almost nothing with it. Nothing. It just is a disappointment, and he in general is just like, he has one of those personalities that's just like nails up against a chalkboard. So he's getting fought. I don't know who would win. He'd be so focused in his spider webs that I would definitely win. Like, it would just not end well for him. I could also just set a snare, though I guess if he's psychic, you could probably tell, but I know that there were some restrictions on there. So I would win, but he is at the top of my fighting list. It just was not the best character, in my opinion. Should have had more, should have been more complex. It would have been great. Two more left. Lil. I do not want to fight Lil. I loved her character, and I was actually like genuinely sad when she died. Because as previously indicated, the prequel was better than a lot of books in the series, which is rare to see. The line about her blood looking like their wedding flowers has me so screwed up to this day. So Lil would kill me. Again, probably not. Lil and Ezzelrip are pretty well matched. I do still like Ezzelrip better, but I think that Lil would win. So they're just gonna be like this, like a little wedding cake with flowers on it. You know what? Here, yeah. We're gonna draw a little flower. Let me stop it, Pete. If it'll let me. I'm a child. Okay, perfect. That's an atrocity. But we only have one more, and that's Bess. And why would I want to fight Bess? She literally runs this library. And so I think I would beat her pretty heavily, but I definitely don't want to fight Bess. She is so cool in so many ways. And like the whole bell ritual thing was actually pretty sick. So I guess this is my final sort of alignment chart, political compass of fighting Guardians of Ga'Hoole characters. I'm pretty content with this, despite the fact that you can't read the Ember one, but that's okay sometimes. I'm not really gonna ask you to like and subscribe on the basis of a single video, but do that if you want. I tend to try and tread lightly when it comes to BookTube and authors across all platforms. But I'm hoping to do an actual review of the series later this year, potentially, as I said, and maybe even a 2021 book review. I've read some weird books this year, as you can see. Though maybe there would be too much overlap, or I could do a 2021 book review minus the Guardians. We'll have to wait and see. So yeah, I guess my place in this world might be heavily analyzing children's media and fandom, but I have to put my pending English degree to use somehow. So see y'all later, my ladies and legends, and have a good evening. Day. It's literally 4 p.m. Oh, I've lost all perception of time. I'm gonna stop on that.